All right.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna take it as we're good. All right. Okay. Well, fellas, welcome. This is our pass rush presentation. Okay. My name is Coach Dennis Osagade. I'm the defensive line coach here at Angelo State University. And I'm going to talk about pass rush today in this presentation briefly. I'm going to go over specifically pass rush cohesion, pass rush integrity, and then pass rush counters that we teach here at Angelo State. Okay. Okay. When it comes to pass rush, okay, first and foremost, man, it takes all four of us to get home, right? We're a four-man front here at Angelo State, right? So our guys have to have great integrity within their pass rush lanes, right? I can't have a defensive end that makes an inside move and runs into a three tech versus I can't have a nose tackle cross the center and run into the three tag, right? So pass rush integrity within our lanes is crucial. Okay. And that's how we kind of form that cage, form that pocket on the QB. Okay. There's no such thing as a one man army, right? You guys know in the Lone Star, we're going to play a lot of mobile quarterbacks. Okay. So if I got one guy that's winning his reps consistently, okay, and my other guys are not within their lanes, they don't have integrity within their pass rush lanes, that's going to make it very easy for that quarterback to escape, right? And either extend the play or scramble for extra yards. Okay. The second thing, man, is it's the mentality of building a cage. Okay. My defensive ends, you got to treat it like basketball. You can't make a layup from out of bounds, right? As soon as we get to QB depth, we should be thinking, okay, boom, I am now collapsing. I am now pressing, right? I'm now anchoring down on that pocket. And then my D tackles have to feel the vice. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that vice in a little bit. Okay. And then the last thing, man, when it comes to the cohesion of pass rush, collapsing the pocket will always be king over working flashy moves. Okay. If you do your research, if you pay attention to the greats, if you watch a lot of NFL, watch a lot of college football, you will see that a lot of sacks come from power rushes and guys collapsing the pocket, guys being close to the QB. More times than not, the QB just falls in guys' laps, right? So collapsing that pocket is very crucial if you guys want to be a good group at rushing the passer. Okay. Okay. Talking about our pass rush integrity. Some of you guys have seen this before. Okay. But here I got two different graphics, right? I got man zone right and man zone left. Okay. My man side is the side that's manned up, right? So in this left picture, that's my left offensive lineman from a defensive perspective, right? And then the zone side of the slide side is the center, guard, and tackle. Okay. Right now, everybody on this line has one-on-ones except my nose, right? My nose has the vice. Okay. The vice is when you get that center guard presence, okay, sliding straight to you. Okay. And how we attack vices is I am now aiming for that inside shoulder of that center. Okay. And I'm going to start pressing, right? This is how I'm going to basically collapse the cage, collapse the pocket so that the quarterback doesn't have a lot of space to evade or feel comfortable. Okay. Here on the right side, man zone left, okay, my three technique now has the vice. My buck, my nose, my defensive end, they all have one-on-ones. Okay. But my three technique now has the vice. So he now is the point of the pocket. He is now the point of the cage. And his responsibility is now to aim for that inside shoulder of that center, press that thing, right? Try and get as vertical as possible. And a lot of times, if he does this correctly, he may fall into a sack because one of these other guys won their rep. Okay. But that's pass rush integrity. That's our lanes, right? That's how we coach pass rush integrity here at ASU. Okay. Talking for my D tackles. Okay. My D tackles are always going to be rushing in a phone booth. Okay. And all that means is that everything happens quicker, right? So if you guys look at this graphic right here, right, you will see, okay, rushing from a 5 technique versus rushing from a 3 technique. Okay. And you'll see where the strike zone happens. Okay. In each of these pictures, the strike zone is this small red little dot in each of these pictures. Okay. If I'm rushing from a 5, usually that strike zone is about 2.5 to 4 yards behind the outside foot of that offensive tackle. Right. So I am racing off the ball, trying to beat him to the strike zone. Okay. Now, when it comes to defensive tackles, your strike zone is a lot more closer to you, right? That guard probably only has to kick once or twice when he's pass setting you, just because it's limited space. It's not like being out there on the island, right? At the 5 technique. At the 5 technique, this tackle might kick for 3 to 5 steps, depending on who you're playing, right? But this guard, it's a different ball game, right? He's going to kick for 1 to 2 steps or so, and he's going to be ready in that strike zone. Okay. Your power, the speed rushes are more prevalent here, guys. And what I mean by that is more times than not, when you're rushing in that phone booth as a defensive tackle, it's going to be a lot of shock and shed, right? It's going to be a lot of get hands now. It's going to be a lot of jump setting, right? Because of that limited space. Okay. So once you understand that, you'll know how to attack it. Okay. You'll know that, okay, I'm going to either get a jump set or I'm going to get up on this guy right now. I need to get ready to react off of his hands. Okay. And then the ultimate counter, okay, if your first move doesn't work, you finish with power. You guys have heard me say, you guys have been here for this past spring, you guys have heard me say that a lot, right? If your first move doesn't work, you finish with power. And we're going to go into depth on that a little bit later. Okay. Pass rush for the defensive ends. Okay. Defensive ends, you got to treat it like basketball. Okay. First and foremost, it's a race to the strike zone. Again, your strike zone for you as a defensive end rushing from a 5, right, or a wide 5 or a wide 9 is 2.5 to 4 yards in the backfield from the offensive lineman's outside foot, right? So if you drew a straight line from his outside foot behind him, going north and south, that's where that strike zone is at. Okay, that's where you're racing to. Okay, defensive ends, you guys got to be able to understand you can't make a layup from behind the hoop. Okay, so if you look at this graphic here, you'll see this QB signifies the basket or the hoop, right? Okay, and I am now, first and foremost, I'm racing to the strike zone, but as soon as I get to QB level, right, I now know I need to start anchoring down. I need to start driving to the hoop, right? I need to bend the corner tight. I need to start pressing so that I don't just get ridden up the field, if that makes sense. You never want to allow an offensive lineman to just guide you upfield, right? Or influence you to go past the QB. There has to be that spatial awareness. There has to be that sixth sense to let you know in your brain that, hey, I'm at QB level. I got to either bend the corner tight or I got to press this thing. Okay. So your two ways of ending up to the basket are that straight shot or that power. Okay. Finishing with power. Okay. Now talking about finishing with power, man. Okay. You guys got to think the quarterback is a magnet. Okay. The quarterback is a magnet. Okay. And that means that comes with the mentality of either I have to finish at the QB with my body or I need to finish at the QB with the offensive lineman's body. Okay. So by all means, have a pass rush plan. Know what 1 to 2 moves you're really good at. Get great alignment. run off the ball with speed and ferociousness, okay? And when you work your move at the strike zone, when you fight your battle at the strike zone, okay, it's going to have one or two things are going to happen. Either you will have won or you will have lost, okay? And when it gets to, if you win, bend that corner tight, let's start closing in for the sack. But if you lose, you automatically need to be thinking, okay, I'm going to finish with power, okay? I'm going to start collapsing this thing. I'm going to start anchoring this thing. I'm going to help shrink the space in this pocket so that I can not only, I may fall into the sack or one of my buddies will fall into the sack, okay? Treating the QB like a true magnet, okay? Now, speaking specifically on the finish with power moves, okay? The first one, my favorite one, is the long arm. You guys know I love the long arm, okay? Because you're longer when you take that surface area away, you open that bow and arrow versus just placing hands on somebody, okay? But this is a great 2-to-1 finish that you can have, 2 hands to 1 hand finish that you can have on an offensive lineman if your first move doesn't work, okay? The second move is the bull, right? That's what most of America resorts to, okay? That's pure strength, overpowering, manhandling somebody, and just refusing to be denied even though your first move hasn't worked or you lost at the strike zone, but you're going to still influence the play. You're still going to cause disruption, okay? You're still going to get that hurry on that stat sheet, okay? Then the third move is a hump move, okay? So this is when you're racing upfield, you're racing to the strike zone, and you feel like you're getting the QB level. You're almost past QB level, and this is where you use that upper body tort, right, to finish inside, right, to club and by and finish inside to the QB, okay? That is another power move that you can use, right, when it comes to finishing with power, okay? And then this fourth one is the spin, okay? Here's the deal. I tell my guys, some guys can spin, some guys can't spin, okay? That's just the reality of it. But there's one common truth that most defensive line coaches know. When you recruit high motor defensive linemen that usually come from high school or so, they love to resort to the spin, okay? They think that that's the only counter that they have, okay? So you got to be able to train your guys that, hey, there's all these different things that you can use as a pass rush counter versus that spin, okay? Now, if you're going to spin, it's not effective if you don't throw that ice pick in there, right? So it's very similar from a setup and foundational standpoint to the hump move, right? Where I'm racing off the ball, I'm getting to that strike zone. As soon as I feel like I'm at QB level, right? I'm now spinning and I'm sealing the deal with that elbow. I'm sealing the deal with that ice pick, clubbing him by, right? And I now have that straight shot to that QB. Okay? But that's finishing with power. Okay, I appreciate you guys for this presentation. You guys can find me at Coach Asagade on X. And feel free to email me at dennis.osagade@angelo.edu. Okay.